Action from your behavior is an intense interest in Christianity, in nationalism, and in not recognizing the talents of women and non-white gentlemen, and that's the wrong direction.
I don't know what you're insinuating, Senator, but I am not ashamed of my faith in Jesus Christ.
Well, you shouldn't be ashamed.
And if you want to shame me for it, go ahead.
I'm not shaming you, but are you critical of other faiths?
Pete Hegseth stood in front of the United States Senate and could not explain why 24 generals lost their jobs. Not one reason, not one shred of justification, just vague words about merit and trajectory, while the numbers tell a very different story. 60% of the officers he pushed out were black or female. 60%. That is not a coincidence. That is a pattern. And when a senator finally asked him to explain even one of these firings, Hegseth had nothing at all.
And out of respect to him and other officers, we never talk about the nature of why certain officers are asked to step down. But we all serve at the pleasure of the president. And ultimately, my view in coming into this department, as I stated in my confirmation hearing, was to change the culture of the department. And it's ultimately challenging to change the department, the culture of a department with the same people who are a part of or in that department. So I have made many changes with general officers. We will continue to make changes as necessary with general officers, and they will be in keeping with the trajectory of where we would like to take the department. But it doesn't take away from the service of those. And I think you will note that every officer that's been asked to leave has been treated with respect.
Interesting. Of the 24 officers that you have fired for reasons unrelated to performance, since you have not indicated any cause, 60% are black or females. Now, did the president direct you to single out female and black officers to be dismissed?
Senator, of course not. And as we've emphasized at this department from the beginning, the only metric is merit. Members on this committee and the previous leadership of this department were focused on social engineering, race and gender in ways that we think were unhealthy for the department, focusing on those things, making decisions based on those things.
Okay.
In President Trump's War Department, we make decisions based on only one thing, merit. And that's how we've made decisions going forward. That's how we've made them, and that's how we'll make them going forward.
Let me go back to General George. What did he fail in terms of his lack of merit to continue serving?
As I've said, I don't talk about the nature of dismissal out of respect
use
for these officers. But ultimately, we want to take the department in a particular direction, certain services in a particular direction, and we want leadership that's running as fast in that direction as possible. And in some cases, we make changes accordingly, but do so out of respect to those officers.
Well, I think that direction from your behavior is an intense interest in Christianity, in nationalism, and in not recognizing the talents of women and non-white gentlemen, and that's the wrong direction.
I don't know what you're insinuating, Senator, but I am not ashamed of my faith in Jesus Christ.
Well, you shouldn't be ashamed.
And if you want to shame me for it, go ahead.
I'm not shaming you, but are you critical of other faiths?
I am a believer. I'm quite open in that, and our department allows for a multitude of faiths. So I don't know what you're suggesting. I've heard the likes of things that people like you suggest to try to smear my character, and I won't give into it.
No. I'm sorry, Mr. Secretary, but broadcasting before the national religious broadcasters stressing the need for more Christianity in the military forces doesn't seem like a neutral position in which you tolerate and accept all religions. Let me move on.
That is not how the United States military is supposed to work. That is not merit. That is a purge dressed up in buzzwords. And here's the number that should make every American furious. 60% of the officers dismissed under Hegseth's watch were black or female. 60%. In a military where women and black officers do not make up 60% of general officer ranks. So when Hegseth stands there and claims the only metric is merit, ask yourself the obvious question. Merit compared to what standard, judged by whom, decided in secret with zero explanation, and somehow it just so happens to land disproportionately on women and black officers every single time? That's not an accident. That's a pattern too consistent to ignore. Then there's the religion problem. Hegseth has been out there publicly pushing Christian nationalist rhetoric at religious broadcasting events, talking about the need for more Christianity inside the military. Not more integrity, not more readiness, not more accountability, more Christianity specifically. And when a senator raised that exact concern to his face, Hegseth got defensive instead of answering.
The strategic aspects of this operation in Iran. The president declared that we're going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. And after more than 13,000 strikes, unclassified assessments conclude that Iran retains more than 40% of its drone arsenal and 60% of its ballistic missile launches compared with pre-war levels. That's one of his objectives. The second objective was regime change. To the great proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand, and we will take over your government. Well, when we finish, we'll take over government. That has not succeeded. And then one of his other things is at the onset of the war, the president said, we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. Military operations in Iran have not achieved that goal yet. And it also seems to indicate that his pronouncements about Operation Midnight Hammer obliterating the nuclear policy and structure of the Iranians was false. So you have not achieved any of the objectives yet that has the president mentioned.
Well, in this setting, I won't talk about the nature of metrics, which are classified, as you know, Senator. But I can say that looking at the objectives we set out to achieve from the beginning, some of which you laid out, our military objectives have been stunningly effective. Take, for example, their defense industrial base. They're completely incapable at scale at any level of reconstituting the capabilities you referred to, which is a devastating result for any country, especially one whose ambitions are as wide as Iran's. So we've put the president in a very strong position to ensure Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. That's the takeaway that's been underneath every single aspect of this. For 47 years, Iran's trying to blackmail its way to a nuclear weapon. They were closer than ever before because of bad deals under previous administration. President Trump was willing to do something about it and not allow their conventional missile shield. That's the North Korea strategy. That's, to be clear, what Iran was pursuing. Hiding their nuclear ambitions, revealing them over time, and then building a conventional shield of missiles so powerful that no country would challenge them for fear of what would happen if they unleashed that arsenal. Weakened after the 12-day war and Midnight Hammer, which did obliterate their sites, President Trump saw an opportunity because their ambitions continued to ensure that umbrella of nuclear blackmail did not allow them to get to a nuclear weapon. And the world is safer because of his bold and historic choice.
Mr. Secretary, I think that's rhetorical but not factual. Thank you.
He claimed he was being smeared for having faith. Nobody attacked his faith. They asked why the Secretary of Defense is publicly campaigning for one religion inside a military that is supposed to serve every American regardless of what they believe. That is a fair question. He never actually answered it. Now let's get to Iran, because this is where the whole toughest administration in history narrative completely falls apart. Trump promised total destruction of Iran's missile program. He promised regime change. He promised Iran would never get a nuclear weapon. 13,000 strikes later, the actual unclassified assessments show Iran still holds more than 40% of its drone capability and 60% of its ballistic missile launch capacity compared to before the war even started. 40%, 60%, after 13,000 strikes. That is not obliteration. That is a rounding error on failure. Regime change didn't happen. The government Trump swore he'd replace is still standing. a nuclear weapon, Iran still has not been stopped from pursuing one. That was the entire justification for the war in the first place. And by the administration's own numbers, it did not work. And what did Hegseth say when confronted with these facts directly in front of the American people? He refused to discuss actual metrics, called them classified, and then pivoted straight to rhetoric about how the world is safer because of a bold and historic choice. Rhetoric, not facts, not numbers, not results, just talking points recycled on command, while real generals lose their jobs with no explanation and real strategic objectives go unmet. This is what accountability looks like when it finally shows up in that room, and Pete Hegseth had no answers because there aren't any good ones. So ask yourself, what's really going on at the Pentagon right now? Officers are being purged with zero explanation. The numbers show a disturbing pattern by race and gender. The secretary is publicly pushing his personal religion into military leadership. And the flagship war he promised would fix everything hasn't delivered on a single major objective. That's not strength. That's not leadership. That's a department being run on loyalty tests and slogans instead of actual results. Share this video if you think the American people deserve real answers, not talking points. Subscribe for more because we are going to keep holding these people accountable one hearing at a time.